Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Karmic Gacha system in Modern Family World. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 381, Bachelor Night Part 1. Edward's POV. Friday afternoon. I rode a horse across the open pasture, a cowba hat shading my eyes from the sun. Pulling the reins, I brought the horse to a gentle stop, swung down, and strolled over to the girl sitting on a picnic mat, food neatly laid out around her. "Milady," I said with a playful bow, settling beside Vanessa. She wore an off-shoulder white dress and a wide sun hat, her caramel skin glowing in the golden light. With a soft smile, she stood and fed the horse a few carrots. "You know," she murmured, watching the horse chew lazily. "This kind of life isn't bad at all." I nodded, already halfway through a finger sandwich. A gentle breeze carried the scent of wild grass and mountain air. In the distance, cows grazed under an endless blue sky. "Yeah, it kinda grows on you," I said, pouring coffee from the thermos into a tin cup. "When I retire, I think I'll be a rancher." Vanessa sat back down beside me, leaning in and resting her head on my shoulder. "A rancher, huh? Well, as long as I can still shop online, I'm in." I chuckled. "When did I say I was going to live with you? Don't ruin my fantasy, Newgate," she said with a pout, playfully dramatic. Laughing, I tucked a windblown strand of her hair behind her ear. She blushed, tilting her head toward me. I leaned in and kissed her, soft and sweet. Suddenly, a black horse thundered past, kicking up dust. Jacob clung to the saddle, arms flailing. "Ed! Save me! Hold the reins!" I shouted, snapping out of the kiss. I looked at Vanessa. "I'll be right back." She laughed, reclining on the mat. "Okay. I'll wait for you." My friends had flown in for the wedding. I was teaching Jacob how to ride the moment I landed in Wisconsin that morning. Enid kept making Brokeback Mountain jokes since we were both dressed like ranchers. I had taken a few trail rides with Enid and Jenna earlier, but I really just wanted a quiet afternoon with my girlfriend. Jacob hadn't interrupted on purpose. Luke had set off a firecracker that spooked the horse, sending Jacob hurtling across the pasture, 3 miles from the ranch. I helped him back to the house before returning to the picnic. "You're really late," Vanessa grumbled, wiping sweat from her forehead. The sun was brutal now. "Let's find some shade," I said, helping her up onto the horse. "Should we go to a giant hay bale and do it there?" she teased, squeezing my butt. "What, just broke back it? Wait, did they even do that in the movie? I've never seen it." "I haven't either," she shrugged. "So who knows? Well, whatever. I'm still going to break your back next to that hay." I paused. "Okay." That sounded way more tortury than sexy. Vanessa burst out laughing, nearly falling off the horse if I hadn't caught her. "You know," she said, wiping tears from her eyes, "I expected you to be all busy with wedding stuff. But here you are, just lounging." I did have some responsibilities. I offered to help Haley with the bridesmaids' dresses, maybe even plan Dad's bachelor party. But my ideas got vetoed. Vanessa raised an eyebrow. "Because of the whole kidnapping thing?" "They didn't say it, but yeah. Everyone wants me to chill for now." I smiled. "So I guess I'm officially slacking off." Abed's documentary, commentary. Abed sat in front of the camera with the wedding venue behind him, a scenic cliffside reception area overlooking the mountains. Although the backdrop screamed wedding, his commentary had nothing to do with romance. Usually, when an action hero hangs up his cape, it signals the end of the story. But for the first time in cinematic history, we're documenting what happens after the credits roll. Cut to Edward riding solo, leading cows across the pasture. For the next 2 weeks. Abed continued. I will closely observe the subject, cataloging the minute changes in mentality, physicality, and behavior, to see if the experience has truly changed him. Troy suddenly jumped into frame. You are finishing the actual documentary too, right? Startled, Abed nodded. Oh yeah, totally. I've already shot most of the key footage. I even sent a team to interview the president. You're skipping the president? But he's President Batman. We're both huge fans. Abed replied solemnly. Compared to Edward, he's not as compelling. Troy gasped. But he's the first black president. I'm a black young adult. He means everything to me. Troy stormed off, devastated. Abed turned to the camera and held up a finger. Be right back. Documentary paused. Back at the ranch, Claire and Frankie lounged on the living room couch while Dad and Phil chatted nearby. A bachelor party? I don't need one, Dad said, grimacing as Phil pitched the idea. Phil laughed. Nice try, Ted. You said that, like you had a choice. Frankie chimed in with a teasing smile. Besides, you didn't say you don't want one. Dad looked to her. Do you want me to have one? Frankie answered sweetly. Whatever makes you happy, honey. This is your special day too. That's code for, no strippers, just steak and scotch, you jackass, I said as I walked by. Frankie giggled, her hand resting on her baby bump while Dad stood speechless. Outside the barn, my guy friends, Troy, Abed, Phineas, and Jacob, were drinking beers. It was still 4 in the evening, but there wasn't a lot of stuff to do at the ranch. Half of you aren't even legal to drink, I joked, grabbing a can for myself. Phineas and Jacob rolled their eyes. So, where are we going? Phineas asked. Jacob cut in with a scowl. Who cares? The girls are off having their night out, we deserve one too. Phineas grimaced. You're just mad your girlfriend doesn't want to hook up in the barn tonight. She said that'd be crossing the line, even though we've done it in the school gym, locker room, swimming pool, Edward's sauna, the teacher's lounge, even the hallway. Phineas gaped. Troy, impressed beyond belief, gave Jacob a high five, then broke into inexplicable tears. I mean, I'd heard about my place, I said dryly. We'll come back to that. But the teacher's lounge? Really? I narrowed my eyes, intrigued. Well, no one's around at night. We broke in and did it on top of Mrs. Jackson's desk. Jacob bragged, although I knew for sure Elsa would kill him if she knew he told everyone. Phineas muttered bitterly. If only I still had a girlfriend. Troy, why are you crying? I asked as I saw Abed patting his back comfortingly. He wants to meet the president, Abed replied while Troy continued sobbing. You guys are interviewing him at the White House, right? Just go? I asked, genuinely confused. Well, I sent a different crew, Abed said. Since we're attending the wedding, I'll miss his autograph, Troy wailed. I sighed. Troy, I'm meeting the president next Thursday. We're flying to Cuba together to help ease tensions. Come with me, we'll be on Air Force One. If you can get on it. Otherwise, you can meet him at the airport. Abed's documentary commentary. His experiences didn't strip him of empathy. If anything, they heightened it. Abed said, recording himself on his phone. Although I'm still holding on to making a conclusion. Edward is a natural problem solver. And the issue was easy to solve. He paused thoughtfully. I wonder what Troy will say when he finds out I didn't send anyone else to the interview. I'm going, right after the wedding. End commentary. Edward, what do you want to do tonight? Jacob asked once Troy stopped crying, holding on to my promise. Though I wasn't sure Troy meeting the president would go well. He froze when he met LeVar Burton, after all. I wanted to try cow tipping. I want to see if it's a myth, I said. I'm in, Abed said immediately. Scientific curiosity. Count me in too. I want to see if I'm faster than a bull, Jacob said, cracking his knuckles like a boxer challenging a beast. You said wanted? So you want to do something else? Phineas caught on. I nodded and said, my dad's bachelor party. Phil told me the plan, just some guys sitting in a cabin, telling jokes, eating steak, smoking cigars, drinking scotch. Not only did they ditch us because we're not legal. I'm actually 21. Troy chimed in hesitantly. I ignored him. That's just a lame party. I'm thinking we up the ante with some old-school bachelor night shenanigans. Jacob suddenly looked concerned. You want to kidnap the bride? I grimaced. Why would I kidnap the bride? Frankie's pregnant. She's worried enough already. I'm not giving her more stress. Then what? Phineas asked warily. We kidnapped the groom, I declared. Everyone went silent. Do you think we can pull it off? Troy asked nervously. Abed hesitated. We'd be breaking into a cabin full of ex-military veterans, to abduct their captain, during their night of scotch-filled state of mind? Exactly, I said with a grin. Now I just need to make sure we make their night even better. Abed raised a hand. I have guns. What? Troy shouted. Paintball guns, Abed clarified deadpan. General POV. I don't get why we have to stay in while the boys are having fun. Maggie grumbled as she hung out with Vanessa in their shared room. They were inside the sprawling, ranch-style guest house, which had 4 bedrooms. Amy and Abby shared one. Alex and Haley shared another. Selena was bunking with Taylor. Haley, however, was missing. I guess we should make our own fun, Selena said. 4-player death match. Winner gets Edward. She laughed nervously as the other's eyes narrowed. Wait, I'm kidding, she clarified hurriedly. Abby turned her head from Selena to the bare rug on the floor. Her scientific mind wanted to know whether that rug was made from a real bear. She kept poking the bear's teeth with a pencil. Amy whispered to Alex. So, except for Maggie and me, because we're his cousin. Everyone here has slept with Edward? I haven't, Alex said flatly. Of course you're excluded, Amy snapped back. Selena sipped her margarita, whispering under her breath. I never did, though. Isn't it dangerous to put all of them in one house? Amy whispered. Alex sighed. We need to study the lore and prepare ourselves. She went on, Abby's eyeing Taylor. They clashed over Edward in 2009. Amy leaned in. Who won? I did. Abby suddenly called from across the room, scaring them. Also, whisper slower. We can all hear you, Taylor commented to herself. Technically, I'm the first. There was a knock. Abby opened the door. The girls turned silent when they saw the youngster who was the topic of the conversation. Edward stood there serious, wearing a long black coat and a fedora. I need 4 volunteers for a heist. You in? Abby nodded instantly. We're bored anyway, Taylor shouted. I need fresh air, I'm going too. She slid off the couch and rushed to the front door. Amy and Alex looked at each other and nodded. We'll come. Edward handed each of them a gun. They stared at the weapons in shock. Paintball guns, he clarified. From across the room, Vanessa called out. Hey, Edward. What are you up to now? Sorry, Ness, I already have enough people. Edward shouted back. Selena frowned. Taylor, you're leaving me here alone? Don't get clingy. Mingle with Ness and Maggie. Taylor replied coolly, pointing the gun at Edward's head from afar. Vanessa approached Edward with Maggie and asked, What are you doing? Kidnapping my dad. We need someone to hide in the cake and open the door once they're inside. Edward replied curtly. Alex narrowed her eyes. So the only reason you want us on the heist team is because you need a woman to hide in the cake? Isn't that a little sexist? Why can't a man jump out of the cake? Edward immediately took the gun from Alex and asked, Who wants to replace her? What? No! I'll jump out. I'll get inside the cake, Alex shouted, grabbing the gun back and refusing to let go. After assembling the team he wanted, Edward handed out the equipment, a walkie-talkie, night vision goggles, a protective vest, and a fedora. Vanessa grumbled in annoyance after the others left. I'm his girlfriend, right? He could have held a spot for me. Not this first come, first served crap. Maggie guffawed. If you wanted to play, just tell him. I'm sure he'll make room. But if you don't speak up, how would he know? Men aren't mind readers. Edward should be a mind reader. Now I'm not going to play, even if he begs me, Vanessa added with a huff. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Maggie opened it, but no one was outside. Only a silver case and a note lay on the doorstep. The note read, "For those who crave blood." Maggie and Vanessa opened the case. Inside was an arsenal of paintball guns, vests, and a tablet with a map of the entire game, complete with real-time enemy tracking to a 5-meter range. Vanessa yelped in delight. Oh my God! I'm so going to ruin his game. Are you guys ready? Edward asked through the walkie-talkie as his team crouched behind the brush, surrounding the cabin where the bachelor party was happening. Locked and loaded, Phineas responded. Visual confirmed. The bachelor party is in full swing, Jacob added, peering through binoculars. Inside the cabin, the men were eating, laughing, and completely unaware. All right. Phase 1, cake delivery, Edward said. Let's do this. Phineas and Jacob emerged, hauling the oversized cardboard cake with a hollow center toward the front porch. The thing looked ridiculous, a glittery, poorly decorated 3-tiered monstrosity. So, Alex? They're still eating. We'll wait 5 minutes, then you go in, Edward instructed. Alex scoffed. This is so dumb. It's not dumb. It's a theatrical distraction, Edward corrected. The men inside chatted, completely ignoring the cake. She sighed, adjusted her vest, and trudged toward the cake, flipping Phineas the bird as he whispered, "Break a leg." But as she reached the top layer and opened the hatch, she froze. Her eyes widened. Inside the cake was already occupied by another woman. Huh? Alex blinked, stunned. What the hell? A moment later, footsteps approached the door. Without hesitation, Alex slammed the hatch shut and bolted back to the trees. Edward, confused, keyed the walkie. Code Winter, why are you running away? You tell me. Why is there another person inside the cake? Alex snapped back. What? Edward was confused. Vanessa snickered from the other side of the camp, watching as his team grew increasingly flustered. Dwayne opened the door and pointed at the cake. Phil? I thought you said no stripper. I didn't, Phil said, panicked. None of them would come this late. They all said this place looked like a cult film setting and they'd be hunted for sport. Ted spotted a card taped to the front. From your son with love. He groaned. Yup. Ed definitely did this. Suddenly, the cake burst open. Surprise! Shouted Sal, leaping out in red lingerie and heavy smoky eye makeup. Mitch and Kem recoiled in horror. Oh my God, Sal! What are you doing in the cake? Kem exclaimed. You promised to behave, Mitch hissed. Sal begged to come along as she had nothing to do. Mitch and Cam were the one who vouched for her. Sal ignored them. With music blaring, Hey Baby, by No Doubt and Bounty Killer, she stomped down the side of the cake, grinding and gyrating as if she was headlining Vegas. She was definitely experienced in it. Hey Ted, she purred, pushing him into a chair. I heard you're getting married. Shame. I really wanted to taste you. Ted turned scarlet. The other captains hooted and whistled like drunk pirates. Mitch lunged forward to stop her, but before he could reach them, Sal drew a small handgun and pressed it to Ted's temple. The entire room froze. The only sound was the pulsating beat of the music. Now, my dear, Sal whispered, exhaling into his ear. Don't move. Our night together is just beginning. She toyed with Ted's hair, making him squirm. Guys? What's happening? Jacob asked over the walkie, watching through the window. Did you let Sal the whore join the game? Edward blanched. Sal the whore is here? Alex groaned. Can we please stop calling her that? It's degrading to her and all women. Fair, Edward said. Criticism accepted. From now on, her new code name is Salacious. More empowering. Alex rolled her eyes and contemplated shooting Edward right then and there. Edward crept up to the window and peered inside. Sal, now calmer, explained her role to the stunned men. So, I need to kidnap Ted with this very real-looking paintball gun. Then, you guys get your own gear, and the mission is to save him before the night's over. Phil squinted in disbelief. This is a game? It's a bachelor party infiltration scenario, Sal said. A midnight extraction. Very serious. The guys all exhaled with relief. The gun did look pretty damn real. So Edward made this game? Ted asked, clearly annoyed. He did. But we hijacked it. Sal scratched her head. Oh yeah, there's supposed to be a motivation for you guys to save him. What was it again? She thought for a beat, then perked up. Oh right! If you guys failed to rescue Ted before sunrise, I'm going to fuck him. Bang! A paintball hit her square in the back. Ow! Sal yelped, turning in fury. You're out, Edward said coldly from outside the window. And that's not the motivation. Everyone looked at him. The real punishment, Edward said, is this: if you don't find Dad in time, we make him eat and drink nonstop until you do. That's not so bad, Phil said. Yeah, not terrible, Cam agreed. Edward raised a brow. It's all high-carb, high-sugar foods. Every calorie tracked. No breaks. Pepper's eyes widened. You monster. His suit is tailored to the inch. Edward grinned devilishly. The longer you take, the fatter he'll be, for the wedding photos. Mwahaha! Ted smirked. I can just choose not to eat. If you don't cooperate, Edward replied, I will unleash Sal again. Sal blew him a kiss. Ted paled. Okay. I'll do it. The room erupted in laughter and excitement. To be honest, for the ship's captains, the night wasn't really that different from their other nights. Mitch passed around the paintball gear. Kim opened a trunk revealing goggles, pads, and mini grenades filled with neon-colored paint. Outside, Edward led Ted away through the fields to the massive hay maze he had built earlier that evening, a sprawling arena nearly 200 square meters wide. At the center, Ted was strapped to a chair, being force-fed some donuts. Each entrance to the maze was guarded by a member of Edward's hand-picked team. Meanwhile, word of the bachelor party game spread across the ranch like wildfire. Jenna, Enid, Elsa, Haley, all overheard the excitement. Luke and Manny were outraged they weren't invited. Then, as if summoned by fate, each of them discovered a mysterious briefcase at their cabin doors, filled with pink, glitter-covered paintball guns, vests, and tracking tablets. Who's doing this? Enid asked, lifting the pastel-colored gear. Edward? Or is this someone else entirely? The scope of the game expanded. Edward had more in mind than just a fun night. He knew tensions lingered, old grudges, petty rivalries, unresolved drama. It was the perfect excuse to let everyone blow off steam and settle their differences before the wedding. That's why he had Jean gave everyone the paintball guns stealthily. Chapter 382, Bachelor Night Part 2. General POV. At the heart of the maze, Edward had built a compact surveillance station, complete with hidden cameras, stealth drones, and monitors hooked up to a portable generator. From this command center, he and his dad, Ted, watched the chaos unfold like a live tactical game show. The maze itself, constructed entirely from stacked hay bales and lined with soft LED strips for visibility, was both eerie and theatrical, perfect for a late-night paintball war. Sal hugged her own body as she sat next to Ted, waiting for her moment to pounce on him. However, she deeply regretted not wearing a jacket as the cold night air made her shiver. Ted wasn't tied up or restrained. He sat freely, eating donuts and pizza by hand like it was just another Saturday night spent watching TV with his son. Despite the surreal circumstances, there was a strange father-son warmth to the whole setup. "Wanna bet who makes it here first?" Edward asked, scrolling through camera feeds. He saw Abby ransacking a dropped chest, which she earned after shooting Selena on the back. The chest was dropped by a drone, and inside it was a small prize, a golden bracelet. Ted nodded mid-bite. "Dwayne. I've got my money on him. He's quick." The feed switched to Dwayne, already drenched in sweat, moving fast through the maze. Suddenly, instead of sticking to the path, Dwayne started scaling the hay wall. "Oh shit, no, Dwayne." Ted leaned forward. Before Dwayne could make it to the top, a drone locked on and fired a rapid volley of paint pellets at his torso. Bright splatters marked him as out. "Damn it! Didn't he read the rules at the front?" Ted shouted, while Edward nearly fell out of his chair laughing. Back at the entrance, Luke and Manny stood under a flickering string of lights, reading the posted rules together. Rule 1, no shortcuts. Tried to cheat and you're out. Rule 2, once you're shot, you're out. Period. The game knows. You're being watched. Rule 3, ghosts can't shoot. If you're hit and still fire, it doesn't count. The other player stays in. Rule 4, no teams. No mercy. Every person for themselves. Rule 5, last one standing wins the big prize. Luke's eyes sparkled. "Finally! I can win a Godzilla!" Manny gave him a look. "Godzilla's not real. But I can build one. Out of robot parts." "Then it's Mechagodzilla," Luke replied, confidently wielding two green army-style paintball pistols. Manny held a bright orange, striped rifle with both hands, more grounded in style but twice as heavy. "Let's go win the Mechagodzilla," Luke said, puffing up his chest. Only to scream in a high-pitched voice the second a hand landed on his shoulder. He began shooting wildly, but Claire immediately stopped him by grabbing his wrist. "Luke! Calm down!" Claire said angrily. Gloria held Manny's shoulder, which made him freeze in fear. "Manny, you're supposed to be in bed by now," Gloria said, her voice laced with venom. Luke forced me to." Manny immediately ratted out his stepnephew. "Hey!" Luke shrieked, looking wounded. "You wanted to play the game too." "What game?" Claire asked sharply, crossing her arms. Under the weight of their mother's stares, both boys cracked instantly and spilled everything. "So there's a game," Claire said, voice tight with offense. "And he didn't even invite us." He knew I would win, that's why he didn't invite me." Gloria huffed, grabbing one of the guns out of Luke's hands. Claire snatched Manny's backup handgun without hesitation. "We're joining the game too," Gloria declared. Meanwhile, Enid skipped into the hay maze alone, her face bright with childish delight. "When did he even set all this up?" she muttered, almost in awe. Up ahead, the pirate costume Teach crouched in a corner, eyes locked on his target, another player named Thatch. He didn't hear Enid approach. "Excuse me, sir?" she called, her voice trembling. Teach spun around, gun raised, instantly on high alert. I got shot," Enid sniffled, wiping her eyes. "But I don't know how to get out of the maze." Teach relaxed. No weapon in sight. Her polka-dot shirt made it hard to see if she'd actually been hit under the dim maze lights. "I think I remember the way to the entrance," he said, voice softening. "Just wait a bit." He turned back toward Thatch. Pop, pop, pop. Paintballs slammed into his back. "What?" He whirled, stunned, to see Enid grinning devilishly. She blew on the barrel of her gun and said with theatrical flair, "You're out." "You tricked me!" Teach gasped, betrayed. A drone zipped over, displaying a holographic status screen, eliminated, and began leading him toward the exit. "Wow," Ted said from the control booth, eyes wide. "Enid's turning into a dark horse in this competition. She's already eliminated 3 players." Edward laughed, clearly proud. Didn't expect her to be this shrewd. I feel like a proud dad. His attention shifted to Cam and Mitchell. They had originally been traveling with Ronaldo and Pepper, until Cam accidentally shot Pepper. Ronaldo, furious, retaliated and took Cam out. Why won't you shoot him? He killed me! Cam whined, trailing behind Mitchell like the ghost of a clingy ex. Mitchell rolled his eyes. He said with a sagely tone, "An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind." "I don't care about your political view," Cam snapped. "This is a paintball game. You need to shoot people to win." Mitchell threw up his hands dramatically. "Maybe I'm just here for the maze, okay? I happen to be a strong believer in nonviolence." Before he could finish, a paintball hit him square in the back. "Oh. Who?" He turned to see Claire standing behind him, arms crossed, her expression full of disappointment. "Not only did you declare yourself pacifist, you were loud enough to lead someone right to you. How dumb are you?" she said, brushing past him into the next junction. Mitchell stood frozen, mouth agape. Cam scoffed and walked by, muttering, "You could have at least avenged me. Now I know you don't love me enough to shoot my killer in the face. I'd definitely do it for you." Mitchell was flabbergasted again. He knew he had fucked up tonight. Meanwhile, Phil was hopelessly lost in the maze. Every turn looped back on itself, like some cosmic joke. He marked the hay with straw patterns, but the same markings kept reappearing. "No way. Am I cursed?" he whispered, slowly turning in place. The shadows moved strangely here. Every rustle felt like a threat. "This is a dead zone. Am I trapped?" Unseen, Edward smirked in the control tent. He tapped his mic. "Activate Pathfinder. Let's help him out a bit." Moments later, a skeletal figure, crafted from Halloween props and painted phosphorescent green, floated toward Phil, suspended by drones. Its eerie glow and wild white wig made it genuinely unsettling. Phil saw it, and screamed. A high-pitched, glass-shattering scream. He bolted. No plan, no thought. He tripped, stumbled, somersaulted, then finally burst out of the maze's cursed loops. Edward burst out laughing. "That worked even better than I hoped." Elsewhere in the maze, Enid's luck ran out. She spotted Gloria up ahead and tried the same trick again. Her voice turned soft and teary. "Gloria?" Before she even finished the name, Gloria whipped around and fired, point blank. A paintball smacked Enid square in the chest. "Ow, Gloria?" Enid gasped, staggering back. "You didn't even check who I was. Why should I?" Gloria shrugged. "I'm here to win. I could have been dead." Enid whined. "In Colombia, we always double tap," Gloria said, lowering her gun with a giggle. "Just in case the first shot doesn't do the job. I was just gonna ask how to get out of here, UGH. Never mind. I'm dead now." Enid groaned and stomped off, following the elimination drone. Gloria blew her a kiss. "No time for regrets. If you're not dead, you're the enemy." She strutted off without a backward glance. Just then, she heard Phil's terrified scream echo through the maze. She raised her gun and took aim as he darted across the corridor ahead, but every shot missed, splattering the hay in a rainbow of paint. For someone who could shoot a milk bottle balanced on her back, it was baffling. Phil didn't even notice. He just kept running. Click! Gloria's gun ran empty. "Oh, shoot. Don't move!" Annie's voice rang out. She had her gun aimed at Abed's back. Abed raised his hands and turned slowly. "Annie, perfect. We can team up," he said with a slight happy edge. "Oh, now I cross your mind?" she snapped, walking toward him, seething. "You didn't even ask me to join. I had to hear about this from a 12-year-old. Abed flinched, expecting to be shot. Suddenly, "Stop! Drop your gun!" Troy appeared behind Annie, weapon drawn. "Huh! Ah! Troy!" Annie shrieked, stomped her foot in frustration but didn't lower her weapon. I got you, buddy, Troy said to Abed. Abed nodded and reached for his gun, until a new voice rang out. Stop, or I'll shoot your best friend. Manny stepped in like a telenovela action hero, aiming his gun at Troy. What? Why are you helping her? You don't even know her! Troy protested, still keeping Annie in his sights. Because she's hot, Manny said matter-of-factly. You don't need a reason to save a hot girl. Troy and Abed nodded solemnly, as if Manny had uttered a universal truth. Annie let out a frustrated yelp. She was offended. She shot Abed. Then Troy. Then Manny, while everyone was admiring her beauty, especially in the satin pajama she was wearing. Hey! I was helping you! Manny protested, feeling unfair. I'm not some damsel in distress! Annie huffed, sticking her tongue out at him before striding away. Edward scanned the tablet and announced, We're down to 10 players. Gloria, Claire, Phil, Luke, Alex, Abby, Elsa, Phineas, Jacob, and Annie. Dad? All your groomsmen are out. If Phil doesn't save you, you're eating everything on that buffet table. Oh. Jenna, Alex, Elsa, and Phineas just met up, Ted said, eyes glued to the monitor. And the girls are pointing their guns at Phineas. Sal plopped down beside him, stealing a slice of pizza as they watched the drama unfold. Phineas stood, hands in the air, surrounded. Well, 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 Alex said, aiming her gun at him. Look what we have here. Damn it, Phineas muttered. If Jacob hadn't been screwing around, I'd still have bullets. He glanced around. So, you three working together now? Yup, Jenna said casually. We figured it's the smartest way to win. When it's just us left, we'll settle it then. Why are you even talking to him? Elsa grumbled. Just shoot him and let's go. Wait. Phineas yelped before Jenna could pull the trigger. Alex chuckled. Give it up, Phineas. You're out of ammo. I have given up, Phineas said, shrugging. Totally out. Nothing I can do now. He paused just long enough. Except maybe tell Jenna what you said about her back when we were dating. Alex's smile dropped. What? Jenna turned sharply. What did you say about me? Nothing. I didn't say anything. Oh, she definitely said something. Phineas went on, casual as ever. Also, Elsa, Jacob told us something about you too. Something that happened in the teacher's lounge. Shut up. Elsa fired a few warning shots into the hay near his feet. I hate this guy. Oh, come on, Jenna said, eyes narrowing. You and your boyfriend do it on a teacher's desk, whatever. But I want to know what Alex said. Alex sputtered. I didn't say anything. She also told Edward something about you. Phineas added slyly. I remember telling her not to, but she didn't care. Said Jenna would just have to deal. He's lying! Alex shouted. But the damage was done. Jenna stared at her with a tight jaw. Elsa was reloading. And Phineas was grinning. What did you say about me? Did you call me a slut when chatting with Edward? Jenna interrogated Alex. No. I really didn't. In fact, the only thing I remember saying to Edward about you is that you're a really good actress. That's it, Alex said honestly. Yeah, Jenna. But she said it with a slight sarcasm, like Jenna's such a great actress. She can pretend to be a good girl all day long. Things like that. Phineas continued to sow chaos. Also, Jenna, don't act so innocent. What we did together was way worse. Not to mention I was still dating Alex at the time. Phineas changed his target. Alex's eyes darted between Phineas and Jenna. Wait, what did you guys do together, Jen? Jenna waved her hands quickly to gesture nothing was wrong. No. I've never done anything with him. It's such a blatant lie. You know I only like Edward. Elsa realized it and said, Yeah. He's just playing us. Shoot him. All three girls aimed their guns at Phineas and rained fire on his torso. They shot until they had no bullets left in their guns. Ah man! Phineas yelped. Suddenly, he smiled as he saw the one behind the girls. Luke yelled and shot all 3 girls in the back before running away. "Oh! Fucking, that hurts!" Jenna said as one of the bullets hit her but instead of the vest. Phineas laughed out loud while holding his stomach. Alex was angry and began chasing after him, yelling, "You jerkwad!" Jacob bumped into Gloria as she was picking up a pellet from an ammo box. Gloria turned to him slowly and said, "Hey Jacob. You're not going to shoot a poor, defenseless, pregnant woman, are you?" Jacob widened his eyes and said, "You're pregnant?" Claire interjected from out of nowhere. "You're pregnant? Claire, where did you come from?" Gloria was baffled. Claire casually walked beside Jacob and asked, "I was waiting to ambush the kid once he was done killing you. But you're pregnant?" "Yes. I just found out yesterday when I peed on the stick," Gloria replied with a slightly nervous laugh. Jacob was astonished and feeling awkward. He didn't know what to do as the 2 women began talking about the baby. Abby walked by and saw the trio. She decided to ambush them while they weren't paying attention. She shot Jacob and Claire in the back, and Gloria on her chest. The white paint flowed into Gloria's cleavage, which angered her. "Hey! We're having a moment here," Claire scolded. "What moment?" Abby asked, stopping her feet as she was running away. Jacob said, "Gloria's pregnant." "Ah! That's wonderful!" Abby exclaimed. "Congratulations," she said gleefully. Then she left to continue the game, without feeling any remorse for her actions. At the control center, Edward said, "So we have the final 4. It's time to bring them all here. Luke, the rogue. Abby, the bountiful. Annie, the other bountiful. And Phil, the best man." "Why are you naming them bountiful?" Ted asked Edward with confusion. Sal replied to him, "Because they have a nice, bountiful, plump chest. By the way, where is my girlfriend and Taylor? Did they not join the game? I thought they had gotten inside the maze." Edward muttered with confusion, changing the feed on the cameras one by one to check if he missed something. Edward called all of the finalists by sending a drone that would guide them to the center of the maze. Abby was the first one to enter, where she saw Edward sitting gloriously on a hay throne, wearing a hay crown and cape made of hay. "Welcome, Abby the Bountiful," Edward said. His voice echoed like a wise sage in a fantasy movie. Abby pointed her gun at Edward and began shooting. Startled, Edward jumped out of the throne immediately and hid behind it. "Wait! Abby! The others aren't here yet! Cease fire! Cease fire!" he yelled normally. Abby finally calmed down after she went through a magazine. She reloaded her gun and then wanted to try again, but Annie and Luke arrived. Abby became alert and pointed her gun at them instead. Abby, Annie, and Luke entered the center clearing of the hay maze, guns raised, circling each other like they were in a Western outlaw movie. "Ahem! Brave finalists, Abby the Bountiful, Annie the Other Bountiful, and Luke the Rogue, you have arrived at the final stage. From here on, the rules have changed," Edward said after clearing his throat. He stepped forward. "This is now a Wild West showdown. Final placements determine matchups. Odds versus odds. Evens versus evens. Abby, you're number 1 to get here. Luke, number 3. Annie, number 2. So that means I'm going to win!" Luke shouted, completely ignoring Edward's speech. He opened fire immediately. Abby and Annie both screamed and dove behind bales of hay. Annie fired back, but Abby's shot landed first. Luke yelped as a pellet smacked him right in the stomach, dyeing his shirt with green paint. "No!" Luke cried dramatically, collapsing into the hay like a fallen soldier. "Tell my story," he said before pretending to die. Annie rose cautiously, pointing her gun at Abby. Abby raised hers too, except Annie pulled the trigger and heard the dull click of an empty magazine. Abby smirked. "Oh no!" Annie widened her eyes. She fired once. Annie's vest was hit. "Yes! I win!" Abby screamed, raising her arms triumphantly, bouncing in place. I win, You guys aren't going to listen to me, huh? Edward smirked, feeling defeated. Thunk. A single pellet hit Abby in the back. She turned around slowly, eyes wide. Phil stood there, holding his gun in one hand, grinning innocently. Hey guys. Did I win? Everyone went silent. Edward stepped forward solemnly. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the Ultimate Bachelor Hay Maze Showdown, with only one kill, is Phil. He raised Phil's hand up in the air. Confetti burst from above courtesy of a drone, and a dramatic victory trumpet fanfare played. Ted walked over to Phil and hugged him dramatically. I knew you could do it, Phil. Behind them, Gloria appeared, still scrubbing white paint off her chest with a wet napkin. I cannot believe I got shot in the boob and didn't even make the top 3. Everyone came to the center and watched the videos of the paintball game together. Edward had compiled the best moments for the game. Edward looked around at the caves and grinned as everyone bonded and laughed. Best bachelor party ever, Ted said as he high-fived his son. As it was late at night, everyone went back to their cabins to clean up the paint and get some rest. Huh! As Edward opened his bedroom door, he was shocked to see the traces of an intense paintball fight in his room, the curtain, the wall, the ceiling. What the fuck? He looked around and finally realized where his girlfriend had disappeared to. Haley was working on the wedding dress inside the same cabin, in the other room. Edward heard some noises in that room and went to check it urgently. Inside, he saw Taylor, Haley, Vanessa, Maggie, and Amy almost crying as they surrounded the wedding dress. Edward's heart dropped. Eddie. I'm sorry, Amy said with teary eyes. Then, she moved slightly to show Edward the dress. In the middle of the white dress, there was a bright red paint splatter stuck there. Startled, Edward looked at the girls for answers. What the hell happened here? Chapter 383 Mystery. Edward POV. The paintball game came to a satisfying conclusion. The best man won the match and rescued the groom, fulfilling the age-old responsibility that came with his role. I returned to my cabin, expecting to get some rest. Instead, I found my cabin transformed into something resembling a crime scene. A splotch of red paint marked the abdomen of the wedding dress. We weren't aiming for it. But Haley opened the door to see what was going on, and the pellet went inside the room. We didn't think it hit the dress, but when we checked, we saw the red paint, Maggie explained, her hand trembling slightly. As everyone had been assigned different colored paint, I turned toward the gun loaded with red, Amy's gun. Haley cried softly, her voice thick with exhaustion. I was almost done with it. Now it's ruined. She had been working nonstop for days to finish the dresses. Heavy bags had formed beneath her eyes from sleepless nights, and her shoulders slumped as if she were carrying the weight of the entire event. Apparently, she had fallen asleep while working, only to be jolted awake by the commotion. She opened the door to check, and at that moment, chaos erupted. Maggie, Amy, Vanessa, and Taylor were in the hallway. Taylor and Maggie were already out of the game, but Vanessa playfully raised her gun toward Amy, triggering a brief burst of chaotic retaliation. The playful attack lasted only a few seconds, but it was enough for a shot to go astray, straight into Haley's room. I glanced inside and noticed several more red splotches scattered around, on the rug, the doorframe, and most concerningly, near the teal-colored satin bridesmaid dresses. Those had been narrowly spared. But the red mark on the wedding dress's abdomen stood out. It didn't match the other splatters. Hey, Maggie. Can you call Abby here? I asked Amy gently while she was still crying. Amy nodded, sniffling, and obediently left to find the forensic expert. Edward, are you mad? Amy asked nervously, tugging at my sleeves. Taylor and Vanessa stood frozen, their faces ashen, staring down at the floor in shame. I smiled gently, trying to ease the tension, and placed a reassuring hand on Amy's shoulder. Oh, you guys don't have to worry. I used a special type of paint for the pellets, just in case something like this happened. I can remove the stain pretty easily with a cleaner made specifically for this, even if it's on fabric. The girls visibly relaxed, though none dared to celebrate just yet. Not until they saw the stain actually disappear. I had actually lied about the solution, but I could remove the stain with a simple spell paired with alchemy. In a way, it was a cleaning solution, though not made with detergent. A few moments later, Abby entered the room, looking confused about why she had been summoned. But the second her eyes landed on the wedding dress, she raised her hands defensively. "Whoa! I didn't do that! I didn't say you did!" I snapped, looking at her in disbelief. "But I am suspicious now." I quickly explained the situation to Abby, who furrowed her brow as she examined the splatter. She looked just as confused as I initially had. "So you saw it too, huh?" I said, crossing my arms and looking at her expectantly. Haley, still distraught, interrupted. "What do you mean, Edward? Can you stop playing around for a moment and get the cleaner already?" I took Haley's hand and gave it a gentle squeeze. "Be patient. There's something strange going on here. Also, after this, you should get some rest. I'll handle it." Haley blushed slightly, and after a brief silence, she said, "Okay. I will. Can you let go of my hand now?" "Oh, sorry." I released it immediately, not even realizing I was holding it. Abby turned to Amy. "Can you show me where you were standing when you, shot the dress?" "On accident." Emphasis on the on accident part. Amy groaned, still watery-eyed. Nevertheless, she returned to the exact spot in the hallway as Abby requested. Abby studied the scene carefully. "This is weird. Look, here's the paint splatter on the wall. It spreads out evenly, like a proper chaotic burst." She circled it lightly with a pencil she picked from Haley's book. "But this one," she said, walking over to the wedding dress and pointing at the splotch. "This one's different. The splatter trails off to the right." Everyone leaned in to see what she meant. Abby held up her phone to show a picture she had taken for reference. "It's impossible for the pellet to have hit this way if it came from Amy's angle," she explained. She stepped back, retraced the shot line, and then slowly turned toward the open window to the right. "If the trace bends this way," Abby trailed off, her voice dropping. She raised her own paintball gun, aligning it with the trajectory. "Then the pellet would have been shot from here." She turned and looked directly at the open window. "Or from outside the window." A collective gasp filled the room. I nodded in satisfaction, arms crossed. "Well, it seems that although you girls were being incredibly reckless and came this close to ruining the wedding, you're not actually the culprits here." Abby smirked, nudging my waist excitedly. "So, if you figured it out, why'd you call me over?" I grinned. "Because if I explained it, Amy would have thought I was just trying to make her feel better. She'd still feel guilty, even after the stain was removed. But if you explain it, she'll believe it." The tension finally broke, replaced by relieved sighs and the slow return of color to everyone's cheeks. I glanced around, my tone shifting slightly. "Now, everyone except Vanessa and Taylor can go back to their cabins. I need to have a serious talk with those two. Privately." Inside my ruined room, I sat on the edge of the bed while the two ladies stood in front of me. "So, mind explaining what happened? Why did you decide to go berserk here?" I asked in a calm tone, though my expression was anything but pleased. Vanessa opened her mouth but turned to Taylor for support. Taylor begrudgingly said, "We didn't plan to come here together. For some reason, Vanessa was tracking me. And why are you here in the first place?" I crossed my arms, staring directly at Taylor. Taylor looked overwhelmed and avoided my gaze. I came here to ambush you. That's it. I was planning to stay here until the game finished, and then shoot you when you walked in. Is that it?" I pressed. Taylor nodded, and I turned to Vanessa. "So you saw her come here, and then you followed her. Even though you have the tools to win the game, you thought she was more important. Why?" Vanessa was silent for a moment before she said, "Well, she was acting weird." So I wanted to know what she was planning. Is that really it? Because I know what a war-torn scene looks like. This place was a war zone for a few minutes while I was out in the maze. I'm not looking for a reason to get angry with you guys either. I can clean this up pretty easily. So, just tell me. I looked at them with sincere eyes. Vanessa and Taylor fell silent. I waited patiently until Taylor finally spoke up. I was lying on your bed, without my skirt on. Taylor blushed and explained while avoiding eye contact. I widened my eyes in shock, and Vanessa added, "She said you guys had an arrangement." I got pissed, so I began to shoot. Arrangement? What arrangement? Oh, that. My heart skipped a beat as I realized what she meant. I turned to Taylor and said, "I told you we'd stop that whenever one of us got into a relationship." Vanessa was frazzled and interjected, "So it's true? You were sleeping with her for the past 2 years?" I nodded. "Yeah. Sometimes." "Oh my God! I can't believe this." Vanessa held her head, fuming in anger. "We didn't date. It was more of a friends with benefits situation." Taylor turned to her and said, "You don't get to be angry. I get to be angry. You ruined everything. You were dating some other guy?" Vanessa looked at Taylor in disbelief, her voice rising. Taylor snorted. "Yeah. To make him jealous. But then you snaked him away, you snake." Taylor told me that she had never even kissed the guys she had dated before. I guess the Kennedy guy was the same. Hold on. Hold on. I interjected, standing up quickly and positioning myself between Vanessa and Taylor. I held on to Vanessa but turned to Taylor. "I thought you were okay with it. When I told you I was dating Vanessa, you didn't say anything. So why bring it up now?" Taylor shut her mouth and crossed her arms, sitting at the edge of the bed, trying to calm herself down. Vanessa realized what she was doing and stopped trying to provoke Taylor. After a moment, Taylor said, "Look, I don't care that you're dating Vanessa. But I never thought you guys would go far. I thought you were just doing it." Taylor turned to Vanessa and said, "I'm sorry. I wasn't here to seduce your boyfriend, well, maybe a little. I just wanted to know something." "Know what? Whether he'll still sleep with you even though he has a girlfriend now?" Vanessa replied sarcastically. "Yes." Taylor responded honestly, leaving Vanessa stunned. Taylor continued, "I thought I could wait until you guys were over. But when the incident happened, and I caught a glimpse of what Edward's real life is like, waiting seems like a bad idea considering he could be dead at any given time." Vanessa blinked, Taylor's words reaching her and making her think. Taylor turned to Vanessa and said sincerely, "I'm sorry, Ness. Not for what I wanted to do, but because I didn't tell you first. I like Edward. So I'm going to pursue him." "What?" I was shocked. Vanessa fell silent for a moment. I turned to her and asked, "Ness, are you okay?" Taylor kept her eyes on Vanessa, waiting for her response. Vanessa sighed and placed her left hand on her hips, saying annoyedly, "Well, I kind of expected this to happen. So I'm not really surprised." "I am." I raised my hand meekly. Vanessa ignored me and said, "In fact, you're not the only one. So, I'm going to let this go, for now. Until after the wedding. Then we'll sit down together and have a serious talk about this special situation." "Can I share my opinion on this?" I said teasingly. Vanessa turned to me and said, "No. You may not." I went to sleep very confused that night. But before I slept, I made sure to remove the stain from the wedding dress, which made everyone's night better. The next morning, a pair of 1-year-old twin toddlers rushed toward me with their weak legs and tugged at my pants the moment I entered my grandparents' house. "Ah, they recognize you, Ed." My Uncle Aaron's wife, Melinda, melted slightly as she saw her sons wanting me to pick them up. I placed the freshly squeezed milk on the table beside the entrance and lifted them both, making them sit on my forearms. The boys, with heterochromia eyes, one blue and one green, had long blonde hair and were born almost a year ago. My Uncle Aaron married again, and his wife became pregnant soon after. Let's go, Aiden! Noah! I said excitedly as I brought the boys to the kitchen. Go! Aiden raised his tiny fist and yelled, while Noah remained a bit more reserved. They both laughed as I played with them, giggling at every exaggerated face I made, while the entire family enjoyed breakfast together. So who won last night? My grandma asked, sipping her tea. Phil won, Uncle Aaron muttered begrudgingly. I could have won if I was there. He had made the choice to stay in and spend time with his sons instead of joining the bachelor party. He thought it would just be a low-key night, maybe scotch and steak. He had no idea there'd be a full-blown paintball war. So you never went out last night, right? I asked my uncle casually. He shook his head, chewing on a slice of toast. Nope. Okay. Cool. After breakfast, I headed outside and found Abby waiting for me near the field. So? Abby asked as I approached. Everyone has their own alibi. It's not them, I replied, shaking my head slightly in disappointment. Abby and I were still conducting our little investigation into who had really shot the wedding dress last night. Since this was supposed to be a private event, just family and close friends, I hadn't thought to install any cameras or surveillance. That was my mistake. With Jean, Yuri Alpha, 02, and Mikasa guarding the perimeter, it would have been almost impossible for an outsider to sneak in. The problem wasn't the perimeter security, it was what was happening inside. If it's not your family, maybe it's someone from Frankie's side, Abby guessed. We need to be able to check their alibis too. I nodded and began walking in the direction of Frankie's family cabin. Abby fell into step beside me. I'm not going to bring you with me, I said, coming to a stop and turning toward her. Why not? I can be really useful. Abby widened her eyes, clearly offended. It's not that you aren't a good partner. It's just scandalous for me to be walking around with my ex-girlfriend early in the morning while my current girlfriend is still asleep. Abby rolled her eyes and waved it off. It's fine. Vanessa won't mind. Well, that seems to be the recurring theme. I muttered under my breath. Abby raised an eyebrow. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Nothing at all. Despite my very clear request, Abby followed me anyway. Frankie's father was sitting at the dining table, scarfing down bacon and eggs alone. He was a balding, middle-aged man with a beer gut and a shirt that was 2 sizes too small. Meanwhile, Frankie was chatting with her younger sister, who was autistic. Jackie had a bob cut and a delicate frame, always smiling with innocent eyes. Since she was a kid, she'd struggled with social interaction, empathy, and understanding metaphorical language. She also had severe sensory sensitivities, especially to sound, so she wore headphones constantly to help keep herself calm. Her favorite thing to do recently was to crank up my songs on her headphones and dance while she painted. Hey, Frankie. Good morning, I greeted politely as I stepped inside after knocking. Frankie turned to me immediately. Edward, what did you do last night? Caught off guard, I replied. I hosted a paintball game for the bachelor party. That's unfair. I only had a boring bachelorette party. Frankie pouted playfully. Hey, kid. Do you know your dad is forcing her to get a prenup for the wedding? Her father, Fred, suddenly cut in, his voice thick with sarcasm. Frankie's smile vanished. She snapped. I told you, the prenup was my idea. Whether we do or don't get one, it's none of your business. Really? Then tell me. Who's going to raise your sister after I'm dead? Alana would have done it, if you didn't kill her. Jackie's face paled. My blood boiled. Hey, fatso, I said sharply, venom curling in my voice. One more word, and I'll lock you up in the barn with a horned-up bull. Jackie jumped up, panicking. Please don't fight. Please don't fight. It's a wedding. Weddings are happy. Please don't fight. Fred scoffed and turned back to his meal, chewing with all the elegance of a garbage disposal. I crouched beside Jackie and gently patted her shoulder. We're not fighting. We're just having a tough discussion, that's all. Please don't fight. Please don't fight. She kept repeating, her breathing shallow. It took a while, but eventually Frankie managed to calm her down. That's when I noticed it. In the corner of the living room, barely visible amidst the commotion, was a colorful mess of brushes, water cups, palettes, and drying canvases. Paints. Several tubes, all in different shades. A few were open, red smeared at the edges. Jackie's artwork. She had painted a cow, some horses, and even a hayfield. Jackie, that's a really great painting, I said sincerely. I wasn't being facetious. She really was a talented painter. She beamed and said excitedly, I made another one last night. Do you want to see it? Sure. I'd love to. Jackie dashed to her bedroom, and when I saw the new painting, I felt a jolt. It's the wedding dress. My heart skipped a beat. There it was, the same dress, drawn in detail, and stained with red paint in the exact same spot. She was there that night. Later that afternoon, just before the wedding rehearsal, the final batch of guests finally arrived. Sage walked slowly, lugging her suitcase across the gravel. Vanessa and Abby were walking beside me when I finally spotted her. Oh, Edward. Anna is... Vanessa began, but paused, confused to find I had vanished from her side. Both she and Abby stared in disbelief as they watched me sprint toward Sage. You didn't answer my calls for a week, I yelled, charging forward and putting her in a headlock. Let go, you brat. I said let go. Sage barked, flabbergasted. She turned and used a judo shoulder throw on me. I managed to plant my feet just in time, stopping my body from slamming to the ground, but the awkward position left me at an unfortunate angle. She was wearing a sundress, and the wind chose that moment to blow. From my point of view, I saw everything. Edward! Both Abby and Vanessa shouted in sync, clearly pissed. Vanessa wasted no time and reported the incident to my grandma, which earned me a long lecture about how not to be rough with women, at least not until the dinner rehearsal. Chapter 384, Late Night Talk. Edward POV. You actually made it, I said, turning to Haley, who tilted her chin up smugly as I scrolled through the pictures on her phone of the finished wedding dress and the bridesmaids' gowns. It was really tough. I might have to charge more, Haley joked. But I nodded seriously and said, okay. Pulling out my phone, I commanded, Oracle, transfer twice the agreed tailor fee to Haley. Everyone was mingling and enjoying dinner together. The rehearsal was in full swing, and to be honest, I didn't have much to do. Phil, Pepper, and Ronaldo were handling everything. The bride and groom gave thanks to everyone who helped with the wedding, the best man and maid of honor gave speeches, and the wedding planner walked everyone through tomorrow's ceremony to make sure it would go smoothly. Wait, Edward! I was joking. Ding. Haley froze at the sound. Her eyes widened as she stared at her phone. 10,000? You sent me 10,000? She cried, disbelief written all over her face. Only 10? I tilted my head and leaned in to peek at her screen. Haley, that's 100. I pointed out gently. She went rigid again before snapping. What? Why are you so surprised? That's the average rate for a prominent fashion designer in Hollywood. Some even charge more, I said nonchalantly, as though her outrage was baffling. You. Haley inhaled sharply, then sighed in resignation. I can't give this back, can I? I grinned. Nope. At the table next to us, my grandparents, Jay and Gloria, were enjoying their meals. The beef here is immaculate. Better than Wagyu, Jay remarked as he sliced his steak. He didn't care at all about the wedding. But he was enjoying his time in Wisconsin so much he wanted to extend his holidays here. That's from Edward's cow. His new breed, Grandpa added proudly. We slaughtered one this week. Grandma Jules was watching Haley and me thoughtfully. Gloria leaned in and whispered, It's a shame they couldn't make it work, huh? It is. Haley's such a nice kid, Grandpa Jules said with a sigh. But now that Edward's grown a bit, maybe it's for the best. Gloria looked confused. Her face fell. Kay? No, I mean height-wise, Grandma Jules clarified. They don't look that great standing next to each other anymore. Edward needs to be with someone taller. Vanessa, walking by just then, overheard the comment. Her face stiffened. She was the same height as Haley. At my table, Taylor, Abby, Haley, Jenna, Enid, Vanessa, Selena, and Tara were seated around me, giggling at every joke I cracked. Jacob and Phineas watched from a distance. Phineas muttered, Some people die of thirst while others drown. You're the only one who's thirsty. I get plenty every day. Jacob smirked as Elsa approached, carrying her plate. Jacob reached for a bite, and Elsa slapped his hand away. Go get it yourself, she scolded. The rehearsal ended without a hitch. Later, Haley, Frankie, and most of the girls returned to my cabin so Haley could have Frankie try on the dress again in case last-minute adjustments were needed. Max and Caroline approached me, looking sheepish. Edward, I have to confess something, Max said, taking a seat beside me. Are you the one who shot the dress? I asked incredulously. What? No, Max said quickly. It's about something else. The cake, Caroline said meekly. What about it? You're baking it tomorrow, right? I asked, puzzled. Can't you not make it in time? Max chuckled nervously. It's not about the time. We're out of ingredients, Caroline finished. What? How? I asked in shock. I've prepared enough to make it to the wedding. Yeah, but you didn't account for your grandma and Max's continuous giving tendencies. They even gave gift baskets to all the ranches nearby, and also every friend of your grandparents, Caroline tattled. Max shook her head, shirking responsibility. No, it's not me. It's your grandma. Definitely your grandma. I was just helping her. I sighed and glanced at my unapologetic grandmother. I guessed it's my own fault. I didn't tell her about the flour. I'll arrange for someone to fly the flour to the ranch tonight, I said to Max. We still have to go to the store and get more ingredients. Fruits, eggs, baking powder, condoms, Max added. Condoms? Why do you need that? Caroline rebuked Max. Max waved at a farmer's son at the rehearsal and said, You're right. I should do it raw with him. No. Caroline was baffled. All right. Let's go, I agreed, interjecting the conversation. I'll help you with the cake too. Is it help, or is it supervision? Max grinned. Both. And you're not going to jump on that farmer's son. He's already married. Ah, shucks. Caroline breathed in relief. The road was dark, and the nearest store was a 90-minute drive. They were relieved not to go alone. As we walked to the car, I passed Claire, Mitch, and Cam while having a conversation with Max. Now that we're going, should we do cream pie too? It's been a while since you tasted mine. I love your cream pie. Max grinned. Caroline, you have to try it at least once. I love digging in with my finger while it's still warm. I would love to taste his cream pie. We should share it, Caroline added. Claire, Cam, and Mitch gasped audibly. I glanced back, confused, and saw their scandalized expressions. I shrugged and headed to the car. Claire's commentary. So it's an actual cream-filled pie. My heart almost dropped there for a second. Maybe it did. Cam and Mitch. Cam said. Can they use more vague words? Mitch, squinting, replied. How else would he describe it? It's literally the dessert's name. The innuendo part is society's fault. Cam thought about it, and then nodded. General POV. After Edward left the ranch, Aunt Camilla quietly slipped away from the rehearsal venue, a dark glint in her eyes. She clutched the paintball gun tightly, wiping down the fingerprints before tossing it into the depths of a nearby ravine. Sorry, Edward. I can't let you find this, she whispered to herself. But she was not alone. There was a witness around who saw what she did. Hidden in the shadows, a black-furred puma watched her every move. A moon-shaped white mark glowed faintly on her forehead. Silently, with feline grace, Ace padded down into the ravine, picked up the discarded gun in her jaws, and trotted off toward the ranch. Beside her, a tiny ball of fluff with stubby legs, Vader, scampered after her, playfully nudging at Ace's side as if asking, "What you got there?" Ace snorted, clearly unimpressed, but didn't push Vader away. Inside the cabin, the atmosphere was full of giggles and warmth. Frankie stood in front of the mirror, glowing in the light as she wore the shoulderless wedding gown. Pearls decorated the neckline, and the hourglass silhouette showed off her elegant figure with breathtaking grace. "Ah, Frankie, you look so pretty," Claire said, eyes misting as she admired her. Desire gave a playful grin. "Honestly? Your boobs are way bigger than I thought. Why do you always hide them?" "Sometimes she lets them out," Claire teased. "Especially when she's with her fiancé." Frankie ran her fingers down the fabric, smiling softly. "I feel weird. This looks nice, but am I too old to wear something like this?" The girls all shook their heads in unison. "Not at all, Frankie. You look stunning," Haley said with absolute sincerity. "Yeah," Sal chimed in. "Once Ted sees it, he'll want to rip it off and have his way with you on the altar." Everyone turned and stared at her. "What?" Sal shrugged. "It happened to me once. In Vegas." Claire placed a gentle hand on Frankie's shoulder, pride gleaming in her eyes. "It's time for you to finally be happy." Frankie's smile twitched, then wavered. Claire turned to wipe her tears, but behind her, Frankie's breathing hitched. Her face paled. She clutched her stomach, gasping. "Frankie?" Jenna gasped, immediately rushing forward. "Is it the dress?" Enid asked, eyes wide with concern. "I can't breathe." Frankie collapsed to her knees, trembling. "It's the dress." Haley realized panic in her voice. "It's too tight, get it off her." Without a second thought, Haley ripped scissors from her kit and began cutting through the seams. Pearls scattered onto the floor as the fabric tore open. Only when the bodice loosened did Frankie begin to gasp in full breaths again. Moments later, Ted arrived at the cabin, his face pale with worry. "What happened?" Claire looked up from where she had just covered Frankie with a blanket. "She spiked a fever." "We're calling 911 now." "Wait, call Anna first," Ted said quickly, remembering she had a medical license. Sage, begrudgingly summoned, stepped in moments later and checked on Frankie. "She's fine. No hospital needed," she said coolly. Frankie's hands trembled. "What about the baby?" Sage softened. "She's okay too. Just rest. That's what both of you need." She handed over some medicine and promptly kicked everyone out of the room, barring them from bothering Frankie any further. Edward POV. "Should we get some melon?" I asked, pushing the cart through the fruit section. Max squinted. "Only the ones bigger than mine. Guess we're going home empty-handed then," I teased, putting the melon back. My phone buzzed. Jean was calling. I listened silently, sighing. "I'll be back soon." "What's wrong?" Max asked, seeing my face darken. "Frankie's sick. Dress is ruined. Haley's crying. I need to get back. Now." We didn't waste another second. We paid, packed, and raced home. Jean waited by the driveway. As I handed him the groceries, something shifted in the corner of my eye. I turned. Ace walked toward me in the moonlight, the discarded gun in her mouth as I held my hand to pick it up. On top of her back, Vader looked exhausted, her paws hanging lazily on either side of Ace's spine. "You can't keep chasing Ace, Vader. You've got the legs of a corgi," I said, plucking the gun from Ace's jaws. Vader meowed in protest. "Who threw this away?" I asked her. The panther gave a grumble. I pressed my hand against the crescent moon on her forehead, and in a flash, her memories poured into mine. I saw it. A blurry vision of my aunt hurling the gun into the ravine. The crescent moon, my beast mark, glowed faintly. Ace had been transformed into a magical guardian, my shield for the entire ranch. She would never let anyone hurt my grandparents or my assets here. Good girl, I said, patting her head. I'll get you a fat cow bone later tonight. Meow? Vader piped up indignantly, as if asking, what about me? You didn't do anything, I said mockingly. The kitten stared at me in betrayal, then pouted and ran off. Ace sighed and trailed after her. I would deal with Vader later. Right now, Frankie needed me more. Knock, knock, knock. Come in, Sage called out. Inside, Dad sat beside Frankie, his face etched with worry. She was propped up on 3 pillows, looking pale but conscious. I gave them both a soft smile. Sage, Dad. Can I talk to Frankie alone for a minute? Dad blinked. What? Frankie reached for his hand, squeezing gently. Ted. I think he wants to talk privately. Hesitating, Dad nodded and stood. Sage was already leaving, but I caught her wrist. Don't sleep yet. I might need you. Sage rolled her eyes but stayed close by. Once they left, I took Dad's seat beside Frankie. Her gaze met mine instantly. So you figured it out, huh? She asked, voice small. I nodded. Yeah. The one who shot the wedding dress was you. She didn't deny it. Her eyes welled, but her face remained calm. When did you know? This morning. Jackie's painting. But I ruled her out. Your dad wouldn't do something that messy either. That only left you. The family had a strict rule. Jackie was taught from her early age that she shouldn't go out alone. The reason Jackie could see the stain on the wedding dress was because she was following Frankie that night. Frankie snuck out of her cabin after she thought everyone was asleep. And then, she shot the wedding dress through the window to ruin it. The silence stretched between us. Aren't you going to ask me why? She whispered. I shrugged. I get it. Marrying a dork like my dad can't be easy. It's not. Ted wasn't the reason. Frankie protested, voice cracking. So, he's not the reason you're trying to sabotage this wedding? So is it me? Frankie widened her eyes and immediately said, No. It's not you. It's me. I chuckled softly. I know you love him. But if something's weighing on you, you can postpone the wedding, Frankie. She lowered her gaze. I took her hand in mine. Do you want to marry my dad? I asked gently. She nodded. Then why are you hesitant? I asked again, eyes steady. Frankie hesitated. Her mouth trembled. I said nothing. I just waited. Alana. She finally whispered. Her sister's name. Her hands clenched the blanket. My family's quirky. I almost laughed but bit it back. Batshit crazy would have been more accurate. Alana was the best of us. Kind, smart, balanced. She turned her quirks into strength. She was engaged. She had everything going for her. Frankie's voice began to crack. She asked me to be her maid of honor. I didn't reply. I was mad at my parents and ignored all her calls. Her breath hitched. She drove 3 hours to see me. To talk to me face to face, to convince me. Her voice grew thin. She never made it. She got into an accident. Tears poured down her cheeks. I killed her, Edward, she whispered. I ignored her calls. When she needed me most. At the time of the crash, Alana had been calling Frankie. And ever since, Frankie had wondered, what if she had picked up? What if it was a call for help? What if she could have saved her? After the accident, Frankie started pulling away from everyone. And it never really stopped. I reached over and pulled her into a hug. She shook in my arms, unraveling under the weight of years of guilt. You didn't kill her, Frankie, I murmured. You're not responsible for what happened. But the words couldn't pierce the shell. She sobbed harder, her body trembling, as if years of buried pain had finally found the cracks and were spilling out uncontrollably. All of it, the wedding dress sabotage, the panic attacks, the quiet hesitations, stemmed from this one moment in her past. I held her tighter, refusing to let go. Not until her sobs began to soften and her breath returned to something steady. Frankie gave a broken chuckle, wiping her tears with a tissue. That must have looked pathetic. A grown woman crying like a baby. No, I said quickly. Not at all. Then, more firmly, Frankie, you can't keep punishing yourself for being alive. She let out a breath, heavy with exhaustion. I know, Edward. Logically, I know I'm not to blame. But I can't escape it. Maybe the aisle just isn't for me. Ted and I can still get married. Quietly. At the courthouse. No dress. No ceremony. No stage. It just hurts too much. I nodded slowly. You're right. The guilt won't vanish. You'll always carry it in some form. Because you never got to say goodbye. You never got to apologize or hear her forgive you. Frankie nodded, her voice hollow. Yeah. It always creeps in whenever I'm close to being happy. Then, attempting to make light, she gave a tired smile. Got a fix for that, genius? I'm open to suggestions. Actually, I might. She blinked. What? I said I might have one. Frankie raised an eyebrow, skepticism rising. If you're about to hypnotize me or pull some mentalist crap, I swear. No. Fair that you thought of that, though. I stood from the chair abruptly. Frankie, be honest with me. Do you think there's something strange about me? Frankie tilted her head, confused. A lot of times, yeah? Well, I shrugged. That's because I have a gift. Edward, if you tell me you see dead people, I swear I'm walking out of this room. I smirked. Not quite. But I do have a very unusual ability. Even admitting that felt weird, like stepping off a ledge into the unknown. Okay, Frankie said slowly. So what is it? I can help you talk to your sister again. A clap of thunder cracked outside. I turned toward the window, blinking. Is it gonna rain? That wasn't in the forecast. Frankie just stared at me, frozen. Edward. What are you saying? She fell silent as a glowing magic circle shimmered in the air above my palm. Hologram? She asked weakly, grasping for logic. Not exactly. I held her gaze. Frankie, I won't go into how this works. It'll mess with your brain. But I can give you a chance to talk to Alana. Just once. In a dream. Frankie looked dazed. Her mind was trying to protect itself from the implications, but hope flickered in her eyes. I can see her? She whispered. Only once. It takes a lot out of me, and it breaks some laws. Frankie's lips trembled. I noticed it and smiled. You can ask. It's your wedding day. The bride can be a little selfish. Frankie sobbed. Can Jackie see her too? She misses her more than me. She can, I said softly. But that's the limit. One chance. Frankie stared at me, speechless for a long moment. Then, quietly, you're trusting me with something huge, aren't you? Yeah. It's kind of freaking me out, to be honest. She smiled, tears glimmering again. I smiled and said, You're family now. Even if you don't marry my dad, you're already family to me. Frankie's chest tightened. Same here. Frankie's expression shifted, calmer, more resolved. I'll owe you forever, Edward. I nodded. Just lie down. You need to be asleep for this to work. She nodded and rested her head on the pillows. 5 minutes passed. Then she sat up again, wide-eyed. Okay, I think I'm too excited to sleep. I sighed and activated my Sharingan. I couldn't waste any more time. Sorry, I said, and put her to sleep instantly. Once she was under, I pressed the spirit sigil on her forehead. Ed, my dad called as I left the room. She's asleep. Go stay with her, I said. He nodded and slipped inside. My body felt hot, like fire running beneath my skin. I sprinted to Jackie's room next and placed a second mark. The sky had turned overcast. The temperature dropped. Sage appeared in the hallway, her arms crossed. What the hell are you doing, Edward? I winced. Trying to help my family. You idiot, she muttered. But fine. A noble one. The backlash will be bad. 2 marks at once? I'll help stabilize you. Thanks, I said gratefully. Don't bring me back to my room, though. The girls are still there. Take me to yours. The night passed in silence. No one knew that in the dream world, the 3 sisters were finally reunited. As I lay on the bed in Sage's room, breathing shallowly, she murmured lazily, Think there's still gonna be a wedding tomorrow? I chuckled weakly. Depends on how the conversation with Alana goes. If she's still mad, it's game over. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. The backlash burned through me all night like coals under the skin. But I didn't regret it. As the rooster crowed and the first light of dawn filtered through the blinds, the spell's weight lifted. The reunion was over. And the verdict? Alana said I'm an idiot, Frankie said as I visited her. She never blamed me, she said with teary eyes. I smiled and asked, So? The wedding's back on, Frankie said after thinking about it for a while. Claire, Desiree, and the other girls who were waiting outside the room celebrated, cheering and clapping loudly, which startled Frankie. Chapter 385, Wedding. Edward POV. Rows of antique wooden chairs lined a hand-swept aisle made of flower petals. At the altar, a wild arch of eucalyptus, dried lavender, and soft white roses framed the mountains in the distance like a painting. It was rustic, sure, but elegant. I stood with Pepper at the edge of the hilltop venue, watching the last-minute arrangements being fussed over by people in headsets. Pepper, I said, nodding approvingly. You've outdone yourself. Pepper pushed off his microphone headset and turned to me. It's hard to say that and sound humble, so it's really lovely to hear it from someone else. Especially someone with taste. Ronaldo chimed in, and the duo burst into laughter together. My black groomsman suit fit just right, custom-tailored, sharp. But my job today wasn't to stand at the altar or to smile for pictures. It was to play piano. I made my way to the corner of the barn where a vintage baby grand piano stood waiting, polished until it gleamed. I sat down at the keys, giving them a test run. The truth was, I asked to play during the procession because I wouldn't, walk one of the bridesmaids down the aisle. Not that I didn't want to. My girlfriend had made it very clear, in that warm but scary way, that walking her down the aisle is not an option, babe. So I had to choose between Abby, Haley, or Taylor. Only those 3 options. Alex walked toward me, holding a camera in her hand, wearing a slightly sexy dress that hugged her body, a flower lapel on her chest. So, are you hiding out from the war draft? Alex guessed teasingly. Switzerland. Neutral. That's my choice, I said playfully, which made her cackle. The backlash made me dizzy sometimes, so sitting down and playing the piano was a good thing. The morning of the wedding, Frankie sat me down and asked about the ability I've showcased. She also guessed that Sage was my mentor and that she had some kind of ability too, without me saying anything. It seemed she connected the dots by herself. But for some reason, she looked kinda excited to be let into the secret. She understood why I was hiding it and promised not to press on the matter ever again. Are you going to sing once the bride and groom have finished with their vows? Alex asked. Actually, no. I'll sing at the banquet, but not that one. Cam managed to convince Pepper to let him sing. Ugh. Alex groaned and rolled her eyes. Then she took out her cello from its case and sat next to me. I looked at her and teased. Why? Do you want to hear my voice so much? Bashful, Alex said. Shut it. Let's practice a bit. Wait for Phineas. He's playing the violin. I said, much to Alex's dissatisfaction. It seemed playing together with her ex-boyfriend was annoying to her. As Phineas came, the three of us started to practice the musical accompaniment for when the bride walked down the aisle. Pachelbel, canon in D major. Time passed by, and the seats were all filled. Someone gave the signal. A warm breeze rustled the hanging flower garlands. Then, the moment that made everyone sit up. The groom and the officiant met at the altar. The officiant was Dwayne. He got ordained for the wedding because my dad wanted him to marry them. The groomsmen entered one by one. The girls gave me a glare as they linked arms with older men, friends of my dad, even my Uncle Aaron. All of them wore matching turquoise silk dresses and golden heels. The ring bearers arrived. A gasp, then laughter and applause rippled across the guests. Down the aisle padded Vader, the black cat, regal and glossy, with a small velvet satchel tied to his back. He walked together with Lily, who was the flower girl. "Get ready. The bride is coming," Pepper notified us. We immediately changed the music to "Here Comes the Bride" as Frankie began to walk down the aisle with her sister, Jackie. She threw her father aside as she didn't feel he deserved to walk her down the aisle. I agreed with her. Even Alana, the ghost of her sister, agreed with her. I noticed it with my senses. It was as if Alana was walking with Jackie and Frankie too, down the aisle. Frankie's dress had a clear sign of being stitched up. I could return the dress to its normal state, but Frankie wanted it that way. She said it suited her. The little imperfections made it better. As Frankie reached the end of the aisle, I stopped playing the music. Amy helped Jackie find her seat. Dwayne cleared his throat, attracting everyone's attention. He smiled and began the ceremony. "Friends, family, ranch animals, we're gathered here today to witness and celebrate something rare. A union. Not just of two people, but of everything they've carried, everything they've survived, and everything they still dare to dream together." He looked at the couple. The couple smiled at each other. Francesca Dart and Theodore Newgate have chosen each other. Fully. Deliberately. And today, in front of all of you, they're going to say so, out loud. He paused to let the silence breathe. I've known the couple separately, and I've known the couple together. Believe me when I say, they were already amazing as individuals, but together, they shine brighter than they ever were. He turned to Frankie and said, "I believe you have written your vows?" Frankie nodded and locked eyes with Ted. "Ted, if someone told me 5 years ago I would find someone to spend the rest of my life with, I would probably just nod politely then erase it from my mind. I've been distancing myself from love, and I didn't believe that I could ever be happy. Until I met you. Now, instead of running from love, I want to run to you. Ted, you make me the happiest woman in the world." Frankie's voice broke, and she added, "You made me happy without me feeling guilty about being this way. I love you, and I will continue to love you, every single day of my life." Dwayne wiped his tears and said, "Rings?" Claire took the ring box from Vader and gave it to Frankie. The bride then slid the ring on the groom's finger while both of them shared a laugh. "Ted, your turn," Dwayne said calmly. My dad huffed a nervous breath, which made the audience chuckle a bit. "Frankie, you came into my life unexpectedly. I never thought that I would be able to fall in love again, but you slowly organized your way into my heart." The audience chuckled again. "I love you, and I will always love you. You amaze me. You're the final puzzle piece that I never thought I needed." Ted put the ring on Frankie after Phil gave it to him. "Francesca Dart, do you take Theodore Newgate as your husband? Theodore Newgate, do you take Francesca Dart to be your wife?" "I do/I do." When the vows ended, there was barely a dry eye in the venue. "You may now kiss the bride," Dwayne declared with a grin. They did. The crowd erupted into applause. Kim stepped up to the small microphone stand tucked beside the altar. He cleared his throat, took one calming breath, and then sang. "At last, my love has come along.
are over, and life is like a song.
Oh yay. Frankie and Ted walked away, glancing at Cam awkwardly as he was so enthused in singing the song. It was as if he was trying to turn the attention away from the bride to himself. Mitchell and Lily covered their eyes, fully embarrassed by Cam's antics. "Edward, stop gorging yourself and get on the stage!" Alex scolded and pulled me away from the bridesmaids feeding me. "Thank God, Alex." I was almost devoured by those girls, I said, fixing my hair and tucks. "Did they have a bottle of champagne? Why are they so—" Alex trailed off. "Horny?" Phineas finished her sentence. "Easy?" Billy guessed. "Slutty," I added. "Hey! That's my sister you're talking about." However accurately. Alex tightened her cello bow. Billy tapped a few warm-up notes on the keyboard. Phineas twirled the drumsticks between his fingers, nodding at the tempo he's practicing in his mind. I slung a guitar over my shoulder, stepped up to the mic, and cleared my throat. The stage lights dimmed slightly. I leaned into the mic, dropped my voice to that lazy, sleazy vibe of a wedding DJ. "Will the bride and groom please take the floor for their first dance?" Sage dragged a chair behind me lazily, poked my back to get my attention and gestured for me to sit when I turned to her. "Thanks, Sage," I told her, but she ignored me and went back to her seat. Alex squinted at me. "Edward, are you okay? You look off." "No," I whispered, smirking. "But my legs feel weak." Phineas and Billy traded a look. Frankie and Dad made their way to the center of the floor, finally freed from the barrage of well-wishers. I adjusted the mic stand, tapped the pickup on my guitar. "Ted, since you have an incredible son who can apparently do everything, this is my wedding gift. A new song tonight. The song is titled Thinking Out Loud. I strummed the first chord. The sound rang out warm and clear. I slid smoothly into the lyrics.
"When your legs don't work like they used to before, and I can't sweep you off of your feet."
A hush fell over the crowd. My bandmates didn't miss the notes and joined in the performance smoothly. Frankie and Dad took their place on the dance floor, swaying in slow motion.
"Will your mouth still remember the taste of my love?"
Vanessa sighed next to Abby. "Ugh. I want to dance with him."
"Will your eyes still smile from your cheeks?"
The spotlight warmed my face. I closed my eyes for a beat and sang straight from the diaphragm, holding the notes with just enough quiver to make it intimate.
"Darling, I will be loving you till we're 70.
Murmurs fluttered through the crowd. Couples began to gravitate to the dance floor. And the ones who weren't dancing just stared.
And baby, my heart could still fall as hard at 23. And I'm thinking about how...
With the soft lighting turning into my spotlight, I smiled at the audience, which made a lot of them swoon. Even though I was sitting, it didn't downgrade the performance. Vanessa wiped her drool and said, "Well, this is great too."
People fall in love in mysterious ways. Maybe just the touch of a hand. Well, me, I fall in love with you every single day. And I just wanna tell you I am.
Claire commented. "We were robbed." "He's supposed to sing before, not Cam." "Yup. I literally have goosebumps right now." "Look," Desire said, pointing to her cleavage. Claire was taken aback. "Why would you get goosebumps there?"
So honey, now take me into your loving arms.
The song really suits a wedding. Mitchell commented.
Kiss me under the light of 1,000 stars. Place your head on my beating heart. I'm thinking out loud. Maybe we found love right where we are.
My dad held Frankie's waist tightly, leading her during the dance. Frankie smiled and said, "Ted, I didn't know you have dancing skills. My son made me learn it before the wedding." He insisted, not wanting for me to make a fool of myself. He twirled her around and then grabbed her again, locking eyes with her passionately.
When my hair's all but gone and my memory fades, and the crowds don't remember my name.
Taylor noticed the lyrics. Is this?
When my hands don't play the strings the same way, I know you will still love me the same. 'Cause honey, your soul could never grow old, it's evergreen. And baby, your smile's forever in my mind and memory.
A few couples joined the bride and groom and danced.
I'm thinking about how people fall in love in mysterious ways, and maybe it's all part of a plan. Well, I'll just keep on making the same mistakes, hoping that you'll understand.
Is he turning this into a concert? Abby said with glee. That's good too. I have never been to one of his concerts.
The baby now, take me into your loving arms. Kiss me under the light of 1,000 stars. Place your head on my beating heart. I'm thinking out loud that maybe we found love right where we are.
Alex, Phineas, and Billy smiled in satisfaction as they saw people were enjoying the song. I turned and winked at my girlfriend, which made her blow me a kiss.
So baby now, take me into your loving arms. Kiss me under the light of 1,000 stars. Oh darling, place your head on my beating heart. I'm thinking out loud that maybe we found love right where we are. Well, maybe we found love right where we are. And we found love right where we are.
My dad and Frankie stopped dancing and applauded the performance. The others also followed their lead and clapped too. I sang a few songs before going back to enjoy the party, leaving the evening to the DJ. The party continued till midnight. They cut the cake, a 4-story strawberry cake with white frosting. Jenna was quite sad because she couldn't eat it, as she had strawberry allergies, but Max was kind enough to bake her a small chocolate cake. After my performance, I sat down next to my mother. She was watching the bride and groom with a soft smile on her face. "Are you happy for them?" I asked. My mom turned to me, trying to act childishly. "Edward, of course I'm happy for them. Don't pretend. There's no way your kid's self would let this cake sit still in front of her without devouring it in the first 3 seconds." I exposed her. Her expression turned calmer, and she turned to the bride and groom again. I am I am happy for them. Ted deserves it, especially after he put up with me for years. The adult self of my mother returned to see her ex-husband at his wedding. He never blamed you, I said to my mother. She showed a strained smile and said, I highly doubt that. It's true regardless, I said casually, jabbing her cake with a fork. She smiled and pushed the plate towards me. It's a party. Go dance and be with your friends, she told me with a soft tone. I held her hand and said, You know, you can be happy too, right? Just return home. She shook her head and said, I don't know, Edward. I don't think I can ever do that. I nodded and said, It's fine if you don't know. But know this. I will never give up trying. She smiled, and then her expression changed again. With a childish voice, she grabbed her plate back and said, Hey! You thief! I snorted, feeling slightly bitter inside. Then I scoffed and teased her. That's my cake. You're stealing from me. What? Wait. When did we get here? She asked in confusion. My aunt rushed toward me, grabbing a chair and interjecting herself into the conversation hurriedly. Edward. W.H., what are you doing with Mir? We decided to call her Mir for the 6-year-old mental state. I shrugged and said, Interrogating her. Wait. Edward. She didn't shoot the dress. I promise. Although I found the gun in her room, I think she just grabbed it from the game. She didn't do it, my aunt said anxiously. Mir blinked slowly, not understanding the subtext behind Camilla's anxiousness. Then, she ate the cake without caring about the topic of conversation. I smiled, teasing my aunt. Really? And how are you so sure? I just know. Edward, please don't tell anyone about it, my aunt begged. I burst into laughter, which made my aunt get taken aback. As I laughed, I told her, I already knew who did it. It's not her, so you can rest easy. My aunt finally breathed in relief. She asked, Who did it then? I'm not going to tell you. You should go and dance. You must have been quite stressed out. It's hard for me to imagine you're enjoying the party with everything weighing around on your chest. I reassured my aunt for a while, and she decided to dance with Mir. I was invited to dance a couple of times. With Enid, Jenna, Haley, Taylor, Abby, and even Vanessa. The night went on, and people were getting progressively drunker. I decided to go back to my cabin to get some rest. However, before I could take off my clothes, my girlfriend barged into the room. Edward, nice timing. She wanted to say something, but I interrupted her. Vanessa, I know what you've been trying to do all week. And if I'm honest, I'd be glad to do it. But I'm not going to. Do you know why? She was slightly taken aback as I grabbed her by the shoulder. Because you're afraid of it doing something to our relationship? I nodded and said, Terrified. I don't want to jeopardize what we've got just for a few hours of, well, you know. Vanessa was silent for a while, and then she smiled. Yeah. I get that. I turned around, and she suddenly grabbed me from behind. But you know, Edward? The more you act like this, the more convinced I am that I'm not doing something wrong. She took off my tie and then pushed me onto the bed. She climbed on top of me and whispered seductively, If you're really bothered, then we can do it like this. She tied the tie over my eyes, covering my view. Then I heard the sound of the door opening again. Consider this your gift for our anniversary, Vanessa said as she unbuttoned my suit. That wraps up this part of What If Karmic Gacha system in Modern Family World. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.